All right, so we got a 2003 Chevy Silverado with the little baby 8.1 liter in there. Doesn't this engine here, it doesn't pass a gas station, like 9 miles to the gallon. I guess all that Chevy Thunder costs big bucks. But what we got now today, it's leaking power steering fluid pretty bad. The whole frame is, it's hard, I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but the whole fender well and frame has got oil all over it. This truck, actually, there's really not a fluid that this truck doesn't like to leak. I've already put all new brake lines on this truck. A couple years later, the fuel line started leaking. And then, it's pretty rusty underneath. And then now the power steering's leaking. I think, really, if you want to be honest, if it wasn't for all those fluids leaking, this truck probably would have, the frame probably would have rusted in half by now. But that's the only thing keeping this frame together is all the fluid leaking all over it. It's got the typical Chevy truck rust on this generation under the frame. Looks like they parked it in the lake for a few weeks or a few years and then pulled it out. So anyway, I've already looked at this, kind of knew what it was going to be before I even got it. There's a seal. These Hydroboosts, see if I can get it. There's a little seal that's between the master cylinder and the Hydroboost. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. You can see in the mirror there that it's real wet, and it's real wet. All this area right here is super wet. So what it does is it's the seal that between the master cylinder and the Hydroboost is leaking. It's pretty common on these. And I'm having trouble finding the seal, actually. They want to just sell you the Hydroboost, and, for $300 or $375 or whatever it is. And instead of just replacing that $10 seal in there. So I'm going to try to track that seal down, and I'll actually take the Hydroboost apart and show you how you can fix this yourself. A lot cheaper than the 300 or something. I don't know. I'm going to call the dealer and find out if they have the seal, hopefully. Otherwise, we might have to order online and wait for it. But anyway, we're going to separate this master cylinder, get those lines off, get the bolts out inside the firewall there on the other side, and pull this Hydroboost out, and we'll split the case, and I'll show you how to fix that seal. Hopefully I can find it today, and we don't have to wait for it. So we'll get started. First thing we'll do is, first thing you want to do is pump your brakes a couple times, get some of the pressure, release some of the pressure, and then we'll pull these two 15mm bolts out of this master cylinder and separate it.
Yep.
All right, so I can't find that seal anywhere here in St. Louis. It's online only. I talked to the customer. He wants to just put a whole new booster on it, which I don't like doing that, but I understand too. You want to get your truck back and you get a new booster. So we got the master cylinder off. Now you got to pull these 3 lines off. So we're going to work on that next, and then we go inside, and then this booster will pull out. So we'll work on these 3 lines. This here is just a regular clip. Just get a pair of channel locks or something, pull that up. Then you got these 2 lines here. Dog's barking. Oh, the phone, huh? All right, so like I said, we got the booster off. This is an 18 mil. Get that off. The one on this side is a 16 mil. Take that off, and then we have the rubber hose that goes on. That's off. So now you're ready to move. This is the rubber hose. Now you're ready to move to the inside to get this booster off from the firewall. So I got my lovely assistant taking the bolts off on the firewall. There's 4 inside there, and you got to pull the brake rod out also. we'll kind of go over that once he gets it loose, and I'll show you what's going on inside there. All right, here's a look of where that seal goes, and you can see right there how wet it is. That should all be dry right there. There shouldn't be fluid between the master cylinder and this Hydroboost. So you can see it's really wet. There's actually a little rubber seal in there. Like I said before, it's like $10 you can get, and you can break open this Hydroboost and replace it. But we're not doing that today. We're going to replace the whole Hydroboost. But that's just a quick look of how wet it is. That should be totally dry. Alright, so this is kind of tight under here. I don't know how much I can show you, but you need to get this off and get that rod off up there. That green rod. That's come off your brake pedal here. And what holds that all together is this clip right here. Just gotta get a screwdriver and pop it off. Then there's 4 bolts. Got one here, one behind this bracket, one way up there, and then one on the other side. Those 4 bolts are what hold the Hydroboost to the firewall. So you got to get those off. Some of those can be a little bit challenging. And then that's all there is to take the booster off from there. All right, so here it is out of the car. Obviously, this goes to your brake pedal. And then these are the 4 bolts that you get to on the inside of the firewall. And then this is the Hydroboost. So anyway, it's got a core on it, so we're going to take that to the auto parts store, get a new one, and put it on back in. All right, so got the new unit here, so we'll just put it back in the firewall and start the bolts, start putting it back together. There's a bleed procedure on this too. That's kind of a pain that we'll go through. All right, so we got the 4 nuts back in. You got one here, one there, one behind this bracket, and then one way up there. Get those snug, and then we're going to hook this brake pedal back up and the brake switch, and we'll put that clip back on. It's going to be too hard to get you up in there, but basically that rod comes through. You hook the brake pedal on, and then slide this over and put the clip on, and then you're done inside. All right, so don't make the same mistake I did. This does not come with the new Hydroboost, and I'd already turned the core in, so I had to go back up there and get this. This goes in the Hydroboost. And this push rod is what actually pushes against your master cylinder. So you'll never get brakes if you don't have this. So make sure before you take your core back, get this out. Shut it off. Pump it like 4 times. Alright, start it up. Turn the wheels to the left, the right. Straighten it out. Shut it off. Pump it 5 times. Alright, should be good. Alright, so that's the procedure on bleeding it. There's a couple different procedures. Some people take the fuel pump, relay out, start it up, or crank it over and get it built up, and then start up, turn it left and right. Normally how I do it is I start it up, turn it left, right once, center it, shut it off, pump it up, and do that 4 or 5 times, and that usually bleeds it out. So that's pretty much all there is to the Hydroboost on these. Like I said, remember to take that rod out if you're going to change it out. And this truck, like I said, that leak's fixed, so what I'll probably have to do is just come by his house once in a while and throw oil all over the frame, just so it feels at home. Because if I don't do that, it's just going to rust completely out. It's already rusted out underneath here. So if we don't throw oil on the frame once in a while or whatever, they'll probably just break in half at this point. So, or we'll, this engine will spring a leak or something. There's always something leaking on this truck. This is literally the leakiest Silverado in Silverado history. So, anyway, that's Hydroboost on a GM, and we'll get this Hoopty back on the road.